So, have you ever had this happen? You're on your healing journey, you're finally starting to feel like you're getting somewhere, making real progress, and then bam! All of a sudden, you feel like you're right back where you started, maybe even worse. It's so painful, so confusing. Well, today, we're going to unravel exactly why that happens. And I'll tell you right now, it is not a sign that you're failing, it's actually a sign you're healing exactly the way you're supposed to. Yeah, let's talk about Sarah. 6 months in, doing the work, feeling the shift, and then out of nowhere, it felt like all that progress just evaporated. And that feeling, it's so common. Her question is one that literally millions of people are asking themselves, maybe even you. And that really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. What if the problem isn't you? What if it's not your progress, but your whole idea of what progress is supposed to look and feel like? What if the map we've all been given for this journey is just wrong? All right, so first things first, we've got to talk about the biggest myth in the room. This belief that healing is some simple, straight line that goes from broken to fixed. On the one hand, you've got this myth we're all sold. It's this clean, tidy arrow pointing straight up. So simple. But on the other side, that's the reality. An upward spiral. Yeah, it's messier. It definitely loops back on itself. But the most important part, it is always moving upward. Okay, so let's just toss that myth out the window for a second and look at what the science actually says about the real path to getting better. So check this out. Researchers at the University of Texas did this massive study on 2,400 trauma survivors, and they were specifically looking for that neat straight line of progress. You want to know how many people they found who healed that way? Zero. Not one, none. This single number just completely shatters the myth that healing is linear. And this quote from someone in that study just nails it, doesn't it? It's not this smooth, easy climb. It's like you're climbing a mountain, but you're in the fog. You can't always see how far you've come. And some days you slip, and it really feels like you've slid all the way back down to the bottom. But here is the absolute game changer, the big aha moment. Even on those days where participants felt like they'd slipped, brain imaging showed that deep down, healing was still happening. Their brains were literally rewiring themselves. The return of that pain wasn't a setback. It was the sound of the work being done. It wasn't proof of failure. It was proof of processing. Okay, so why? Why is our brain built like this? Why are we wired for these spirals instead of nice, neat, straight lines? Let's dive into the neuroscience. Well, it all comes down to this really fascinating process called emotional memory consolidation. When you go through something intensely painful or traumatic, your brain's alarm system, the amygdala, goes into overdrive. It takes this super high-def screenshot of everything around you, the sounds, the smells, what you were feeling, and it files it all away in a survival folder labeled threat. And that is why months or even years later, a totally random song on the radio or the smell of rain can just send you spiraling. Your brain isn't broken, it's doing its job perfectly. It sees something that matches one of those threat screenshots, and it sounds the alarm, making you feel all of those original emotions again to try and keep you safe from a perceived danger. This brings me to a much better way to think about this whole thing. Healing isn't like closing a chapter in a book and just never looking back. It's way more like peeling an onion. You work through one layer, and you feel pretty good. You think you're done, and then you find there's another, deeper layer right underneath. That's not regression. That's a sign you're actually going deeper. All right, so understanding the why is huge, but it's not everything, right? The big question is, what do we do about it? How do we actually handle this wild ride? Let's get into some real practical tools. I love this reframe. It was given to an Iraq War veteran named Marcus by his therapist, and it is so powerful. I want you to really picture this. Your healing is like a giant spiral staircase. When a trigger brings you back to what feels like the exact same spot, that same old pain, you're not on the same floor anymore. You're one level up, looking down on it with more tools, more wisdom, and more strength than you had before. Let's make this even more real. Take Emma, for example. After she lost her mother, she had a really tough time in October and felt like she hadn't made any progress at all. But her data told a totally different story. Look at this. Back in February, a bad stretch lasted for 11 days. By October, that same feeling only lasted for 3. The intensity of the pain might have felt the same, but her ability to move through it had changed dramatically. That's real, measurable progress. And you know what else is absolutely critical? The way we talk to ourselves when we're in one of those depths. Dr. Kristen Neff's research is incredible on this. She found that people who practice self-compassion, who tell themselves, this is just processing, instead of, I'm such a failure, they heal a staggering 64% faster. That inner voice is not just background noise. It is one of the most powerful tools you have. Okay, so you want a tool? Here is a super practical, easy to remember framework from the Mayo Clinic. It's the 3 R's. First, recognize. Just notice, okay, I'm in a dip without beating yourself up about it. Second, reframe. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me again, ask, what is this moment trying to teach me? And third, recommit. Just gently return to whatever practices help you heal, even if it's the last thing you feel like doing. But does it actually work? Well, let's go back to Sarah from the beginning. Once she started using the 3 R's, her next dip didn't last for 2 weeks. It lasted for 2 days. That's an 86% faster recovery time. The pain didn't magically disappear, but her whole relationship with it was transformed. And all of this leads us to our final and I think most important idea. We need to let go of this myth of being fully healed and start embracing something that's way more realistic and way more kind. I mean, think about it like this. If you break your leg really badly, it heals, right? But you might always feel a little twinge when the weather gets cold. You don't see that as a failure of healing. You just respect the history of that injury. You know its limits. Emotional wounds are exactly the same. The goal isn't to erase them, it's to integrate them. We build new strength around them, and we learn to carry them in a new way. There's this fantastic quote from Dr. Judith Herman, a top psychiatrist at Harvard, who says, recovery is not a final destination. It's an ongoing practice. There's no finish line. You don't get a certificate that says, congratulations, you are now fully healed. It's a journey that you walk for your whole life. So if you take away only one thing from our conversation today, please let it be this. The goal was never to erase the pain. It's impossible. The real goal, the achievable goal, is to transform your relationship with it, to stop seeing it as an enemy and start seeing it as a messenger that's pointing you toward an even deeper strength. So listen, if you're in the middle of this journey right now, I want you to hear this loud and clear. That tough moment you're having, it is not a failure, it is processing. That sudden wave of emotion, that's not weakness, it is your whole system recalibrating. Your path is not a straight line. It is a beautiful, messy, upward spiral. And your progress, it's measured one brave, imperfect day at a time. And that is exactly how it's supposed to be.